Now, I would like to start with something a little bit strange. I'm going to share with you a couple of different scenarios, and I'm going to ask you whether, in your opinion, they are positive or negative. If you feel like they're negative, just raise your hand. I'm not going to pick anybody from the audience, by the way, so don't worry, okay? Number one, you break your phone, and it can't be repaired, there is no insurance, you basically lose it. Positive or negative? Negative, okay. Pretty simple. Second one, somebody shatters your heart into 1,000 pieces. You feel devastated. You feel like you are undeserving of love. Positive or negative? Negative, right? Everybody, right? Bam, negative. The last one, you have an accident, and the doctors tell you that you will have to spend 8 months in a hospital to recover. Again, positive or negative? Negative. So it seems like we all agree that all of those situations are terribly negative, right? They are misfortunes. But my question is, are they really? Are they? Maybe there is more to it when we dig beneath the surface. And I want to demonstrate it by one of my favorite stories about this old farmer. So one night, the farmer's only horse ended up running away, right? And everybody in the village, was devastated. They were very compassionate. They said, "Oh my God, this is so terrible. Your only horse ran away. What a bad luck." Now the farmer simply responded, "Maybe," right? A few days later, the horse returned with a gift, with a couple of other wild horses. And everybody in the village celebrated. "Oh, this is amazing, right? Now you have all of those horses. Such a good luck." And the farmer simply responded, "Well, maybe." The next day, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses, fell off, broke his leg. As you can imagine, all the grannies in the village said, "Oh my God, this is so terrible. Your son broke his leg. Such a bad luck." The farmer responded, "Maybe." Now, a week later, the army was passing through the village and then trying to forcefully enlist people into their ranks. Nobody wants a guy with a broken leg, right, in an army. So they let his son alone. And again, everybody celebrated. "Wow, this is incredible. Such a great luck." Now, guess what was the farmer's response? Just say it out loud. Maybe, right? Maybe. It's one of those stories. I love this story because it's very lighthearted, but it also shows one fundamental truth, which is simple. You don't know whether a bad thing is going to lead to something good and whether a good thing is going to lead to something bad, right? We cannot connect the dots right here and now. Now, as humans, and maybe you can resonate with this, we have this illusion of finality. We feel like whatever chapter in life we are in must be final, right? If you feel terrible in the moment, you're facing the predicament, that's it. If you feel amazing, that must be it. But it's not that simple. You can never really predict the chain of events or whether something bad is going to lead to something good and something good is going to lead to something bad. And this is a part of this old Stoic philosophy that things are not inherently good or bad. They simply are, right? It's all about your interpretation of the situation. Now, as I'm talking about it, maybe you feel a bit differently about those first scenarios I mentioned to you. So you break your phone. Well, maybe it's terrible, but maybe because of that, you relearn how to talk to people, right? Instead of just looking at your screen all the time. Or perhaps someone indeed shatters your heart into 1,000 pieces. Happened to a lot of us here. But as a result, you end up meeting your soulmate and you build a beautiful family. And now you're so grateful for that ex dumping you, right? How many of you had a situation? I'm just curious. How many of you? Some of you raising your hands. Okay. And the third scenario seems absolutely terrible, but maybe you indeed have an accident. You have to recover in a hospital. But as a result, you gain much bigger appreciation for your health. And now you become a health maniac. You get into the shape of your life and you end up inspiring others to do the same. So again, things are not good or bad, they simply are. And maybe you can already think about situations in your life when something seemingly negative happened, but then later on you realize that there was some unexpected gift in that pain. Can you think about something already? Anybody? I see some nods here. Now, hopefully after this talk, all of you will be able to not only think about it, but take it to the next level. And speaking of the next level, right, we established that it is possible to reframe something seemingly negative into something that may carry some type of a blessing. But can we really take it a step further? And can we turn our pain into our purpose? In other words, can we harness our traumas, our past difficulties, anxieties, all of those hardships into some type of positive impact? Can we create a life of purpose and meaning? And the answer is no and yes, right? It all depends. It all depends on your perception. It can be both yes and no. Unfortunately, we have more power than we think we do in order to reframe whatever happens to us. And there's a part of your brain called RAS, short for reticular activating system, that controls your focus. It's a very small part. It's literally the size of your pinky finger, but it acts as a gatekeeper for all the information that comes in. Because let's face it, right? We are all bombarded with stimuli every second of every day. Things keep happening. You keep getting messages, emails, billboards everywhere. It's easy to get overwhelmed. So RAS filters what is important from all the minutiae. And maybe you had a situation when you are in a busy place. You are talking to somebody next to you. You can barely hear them. But then someone 5 meters away says your name. And then what happens? Bam! You just snap like this, right? Automatically. Almost get a neck injury, right? Just goes so fast. It's automatic. But again, it happens because your RAS knows that your name is something important. And the good news is that we can actually train our RAS to find positive, to find opportunities in those moments of hardships. And I want to share with you a story of a gentleman who literally became a master of controlling his RAS. So picture this. You are living peacefully in Vienna in 1930s. You are a psychologist and psychiatrist. You're trying to help people. And suddenly the Second World War breaks out. You're separated from your family, and you are literally pushed into this, a concentration camp. You have no idea if your family is still alive, right? Your brother, your parents, your wife, no idea. The only things that you experience are torture and seeing death all over the place. You're constantly hungry. You have no idea if you will even survive till the next day, let alone till the end of the war. You have no idea if the war is going to end, right? At some point, you find out that your family is dead. Now, my question for you is, and just be honest, right? Gut feeling. Could you find any meaning in this situation? Could you? Right? It's hopeless as it gets. But this gentleman I'm talking about managed to find a meaning. He managed to find a purpose in his pain. His name is Viktor Frankl. After the war, he ended up writing a book called A Man's Search for Meaning. Sold over 16 million copies, translated to over 50 different languages. And in that book, he said that the reason he survived was because he didn't lose hope. He found purpose in a place that's literally hopeless, right? And his meaning was that he needed to survive in order to spread the message. He needed to share his story so it serves as a cautionary tale for the humanity, so something like this never happens again. And look how many people he managed to impact. Now, we live in a world where most of us get, irritated. We lose our minds when Wi-Fi stops working. And this gentleman found the meaning over there. How crazy is that? We can definitely learn a lot from him. So my question for you is, what is some type of pain, what is some type of trauma, hardship you went through, that instead of pushing under the rug and pretending it never happened, you could actually harness that in order to create a positive impact? You could channel that into your purpose. Just think about it for a moment. And I'm going to share with you another story of someone that is a really powerful person now, but wasn't always. Story of a girl named Maria. So Maria grew up in Portugal with a single mom. And when she was just a few years old, her mom abandoned her. Right? She left her with a cleaner named Cristina. So picture this, you are a little girl, you're growing up in Portugal, your mom abandons you, you never met your father, you feel unloved, you feel unwanted, undeserving, right? But then Cristina, she had a massive heart, she already had 6 kids, barely making ends meet, but she really wants to help you, she wants to give you a sense of home. So now you feel welcomed again, you feel like someone cares, but you're 9 years old and Cristina dies. And now you're really hopeless, you don't understand the death at that age. You don't really know what happened. You are just making those identity meanings that you are simply not good enough, right? So long story short, Maria dropped out of school. She did a bunch of cleaning jobs. And then eventually she decided, I want to change my life. I want to do something else. So she became a flight attendant because she wanted to explore the world. And one day, during a stopover in Bangladesh, she decided, let's get adventurous. Let's venture out and see what happens. And she ended up over there. She ended up in a Bangladeshi slum. Okay? Now, what she saw there, she could not unsee. She saw kids without families, living on the streets, extreme poverty, lack of hygiene, hopelessness. And in that moment, Maria decided, you know what, I have to do something about it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I have to help those kids. I just have to make it my life's mission, right? But she had no idea how. So she literally, and these are her words, she asked Google, what is the quickest way to raise money? And Google responded, well, do extreme challenges, climb mountains, go to the North and South Pole, raise some money. Now, picture yourself in her shoes. You are a flight attendant. You never met your family. You have no money. You have no athletic abilities. You have no experience. You have no connections. What do? Do you even pursue anything like this, or do you just give up, send $100 and hope for the best? Well, let me tell you what happened. Fast forward many years, and Maria Conceição has 10 Guinness World Records. Okay, 10 Guinness World Records. She climbed numerous mountains. She went to North Pole, South Pole. She even climbed Everest. By the way, this picture is from the top of Everest. And when you look closely, you can see that she's holding a photograph of Christina, her adoptive mom that gave her hope, that taught her compassion. Now, I had a pleasure to spend some time with Maria. I went with her to her K2 expedition. She was climbing the Savage Mountain, one of the most dangerous mountains on the planet. And let me tell you, when you spend a few weeks with somebody in the mountains, sleeping on a glacier, you get to know each other really well. And one time I asked her, Maria, what do you do when you feel like giving up? When it's too much? When you feel like just throwing in the gloves? And she responded right away, what are you talking about? Giving up? I can't give up. There's no way I would even think about giving up. How could I look my kids in the face and tell them that I gave up, right? And here's the thing. In addition to all those incredible accomplishments, over the last almost 2 decades, Maria has saved over 600 kids. Imagine, over 600 kids and their families from the Bangladeshi slums. She gave those people hope, and she created an incredible ripple effect because those kids are now inspired to help other people. And in case you're wondering, Maria did indeed manage to summit K2, right? And this happened right after the doctors told her that she would never climb again because of her injuries. And she still managed to do it. This is what happens when your purpose is big enough. And I realized that her purpose came from the compassion that she got while being a kid, right? When you are a kid like this, and you experience all of those hardships, and then you meet other kids in the slum, you can put yourself in their shoes. You know how it feels to feel undeserving, to feel lost, to feel like you're craving love, you're craving guidance. This is what was pushing Maria to do all of those challenges in spite of all of the odds. So again, my question for you is, what is your pain? What is some type of trauma you went through? What is the hardship that you may want to push under the rug? We tend to do that, but maybe there is something that we can learn from those hardships. Maybe we can turn them around. Maybe we can find an unexpected gift in them. I'd like to share with you my story. Okay, this is not about me, this is about you, but I want to share with you just the dark side of my story to tell you why I'm so passionate about this topic. So before I do so, I'm going to need some help. So in a second, I'm going to pick randomly 5 people from the audience. Not just the first row, but even on the top 5 people. You'll join me on a stage. I'm going to give you the microphone, okay? And we're going to do something. It's going to be a bit uncomfortable, but really powerful. I tricked you. I'm not going to do it. Do you hear this? Do you hear this laughter? The sigh of relief? Collective sigh of relief? Interesting, right? Now, why is that? Well, some of you would want to be here, but the vast majority, you'd be terrified, right? You feel anxious. The reason I did it is not because I'm a bad guy, not because I'm a sadist, but I wanted you to feel whatever you felt. because you probably felt anxiety, heart beating faster, sweating. My question is, what if you felt like this every single day? Every single day. How would that be? Well, that's how I felt. When I was growing up in post-communist Poland, being a mixed-race kid, never felt like I belonged, always feeling like an outsider. And kids can be very cruel, you know. I had anxiety, I had panic attacks. And even though I managed to overcome a lot of those challenges until I turned 20 years old, still when I was here at Aston University, I had a situation when I was supposed to present and I literally ran away from a stage. Can you believe in that? I wasn't a public speaker, I was a public runner back then. I was sitting there and I told my friend, hey, Rob, I have a stomach issue, I have to go. Before he could say anything, I just run off, right? So isn't it a paradox that nowadays I've traveled almost to 100 different countries, speaking on hundreds of different stages, and I genuinely enjoy doing this, something that used to terrify me. But why is that? Well, I had to make a choice, and at some point I realized that I could push those demons under the rug, or I could face them. I could embrace self-awareness and try to turn my pain into my purpose. That's exactly what I did. The topics that I teach nowadays all over the world are the topics that I wish were taught to me when I was a poor, anxious kid. And again, the question for you is, everyone is different, but I'm sure there is some pain, trauma, that you could reframe and you could learn from it. You could find an unexpected gift in it. You just have to try. It's not easy. I'm not saying that you should perceive everything as positive. I'm not talking about that. Sometimes negative things are really negative. But you have a choice. You can try to find some meaning in those situations. Really think about it today. Once upon a time, there were two brothers who had an alcoholic and abusive father. Right? He was really cruel. And when they grew up, one of the brothers became abusive and alcoholic himself. The other one became a successful business person and a great family man. And somebody asked both of them, hey, how come you became who you became? What happened? And they both gave the same answer. Come on, are you kidding me? I didn't have any other choice. I had to become who I am now. Just look at my father. Right? The same situation, two different interpretations. And we all have the power to view life in this way. We all have the power to shape our perception. My name is Naraine. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.